technology.
So I just wanted to start with this. Our whole goal was to be able to get VR experiences out to our districts. We had done that previously, and we did it with the Google Expeditions kits that we had. But when that went away a couple years ago, and you can no longer do Google Expeditions with our kits that we had, we started to explore different ways that we could still offer VR checkout to our districts. And so we started to put together a grant with the Minnesota Telemedia group that issues grant money for proposals that are sent to them. And I have to give them a shout out because they were pretty integral in helping us achieve that and be able to offer this to our districts. And so we are trying to spread VR in the Southwest and West Central Minnesota region. So I'm going to go out of this and just kind of detail our process a little bit. What we do is we actually have districts that are part of our service cooperative that can check out these kits. And so for us, they just fill out a form, and this is our form that we have for them. And one of the things that when they're filling this out is we have created a number of different resources in here for them so that they can look at the resources and lessons, which I'll go to in a minute. And then there's an overview of Class VR. And then we've actually even had a member from our team, Kyle Krenz, who checks these out with districts a lot. He has created a tutorial as well, detailing the portal, which is what I'm going to show in our video today. And so this is kind of our process for us because of the nature of our company and being able to get, out to districts. We have to kind of coordinate with checkouts and check back ins, kind of like a library system style where we, bring the kits out to people and then have them returned either by the user or if one of us is able to drop them off and pick them up and that kind of thing. So this is how we do it and get that opportunity. And then we actually also have them fill out an eval when they're done, and we return that information to the grant group so that they can kind of see, the benefits of schools checking these out. So when they are in here and you click on the resources and lessons, what's nice is it allows them to go into Class VR without having anything set up yet. And then to be able to look at the different ways that they can be used. So there's a number of different resources that help them understand what Class VR is and what Class VR is capable of. And we use some of these, the kind of like the startup information in our kits. So we have printed materials that we include in our kits so that it helps them with being able to set up like the router and plug that into their network. So then we try to make it as easy as possible for the users on the end because, teachers want to be able to get into these and it not be so cumbersome when they're just trying to use it with their students. And we train on these, but then we also always recommend that they're looking through it and getting things set up beforehand. So typically what we do is with some of the materials that we include, once they do fill out our form, then what I do is I actually get a notification from our form director thing, which we've actually talked about before in our extensions video. But that sends me a message, and then I go in to our Class VR portal and I set up an account for them so that they can get into this as well as a teacher and then start to piece some things together. And what we try to do is once the form is filled out, they're going to be checking it out for a 2-week period. And then they will have where, they can already get in the system as soon as I create that account for them. So they can be putting playlists together, and that'll make a little bit more sense as I start to create one here. Because right now what you're seeing is just kind of a blank slate of what a teacher does when they get into this system. There's nothing created yet. And so you see on the left-hand side, the playlist. This is actually going to be where we drag all of our content to that eventually the students in the class would either navigate to on their own as a like a student-led style, or you can deliver it to them in a teacher-led style as well, where everybody's kind of looking at the same thing. It's more of a guided session and not a free-for-all as the student led one is. But both are beneficial depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So this is our playlist area. What'll happen here in this section, this is actually the libraries of where all the content is. So like over here, once you click on one of these, like ClassVR, all of the available resources start to show up, and they're going to differ a little bit depending on which one you click on. But all of these are usable because what's great is part of our grant, we have the kits, but then we also have 3 years of subscriptions so that we get all of the content that is already available, and if any new things are pushed out within these libraries. So you can kind of see here, we have just to categorize these for you. So like your libraries, you have your personal library. So this would be any playlists that you may have created. Again, the playlists are here and you can save them as you go through. And then you have My Cloud. I don't use that really. You have shared playlists. This is actually nice for people in districts, or like Kyle and I who use these together. We could share across the cooperatives. So then, if you put together, if let's say Kyle put together a really good playlist, I would be able to access that as well. Then you have the community. So this would be, kind of like your teachers pay teachers style of VR content, where you're able to access different community playlists that have been created by other educators or education professionals, and they've put these in here so people can grab them. So like whenever I want to create a playlist, if I really like this Eduverse 360 one, which is a collection of videos, I can actually just take this and drag it right into my playlist, and I can see all the contents as part of that. I could also I could dive into that as well if I want to before I add things, because I can kind of show you if we, let's say that we don't want certain ones, we're able to remove those. But we'll go and just remove this for now, and then I'll come back to that. So going back to this side, all of our available subscriptions are here. ClassVR is obviously the the first one, the essential one, the company itself, all the content that they've pushed out, but then they've cooperated with other groups as well to get some different content in here. Like ThingLink is a really popular one. These are a lot of popular standalone uh, tools that you could use on their own, but have been incorporated into ClassVR, which is I think is really great to have that partnership. Like the Eduverse 360, which is a lot of the 360 videos, that would be where when we had the community one, you're going to see a few Eduverse ones on here. You'll see some that maybe reflect more of the content that's from the ClassVR section of the subscriptions, but any of it is you can take any of it and you could piece all the different things together and make them a part of your playlist. So there's a lot of versatility there. Okay, so one thing that you can also do is if I want to search for, let's say, a particular piece of content, maybe I want to do like, we'll try this and see what we get. Like our 7 wonders of the world. We could see if we have our different wonders, and we may have to be more specific. We might have to say Roman Colosseum. Probably spelled that wrong, but and then you just explore these different things here. So if you want to look at certain ones, that's obviously not the Colosseum, but you can still look at all the various things that are available. I will say that it's always good to, if you remember, I was talking about teachers getting into this platform before they actually get the kits. What I really like about that is that they can then explore, available things. So because sometimes when you put in maybe what you're looking for, you're not always going to get a track or a playlist for that. So it's good to be able to sift through all the content and then determine what you can actually get from it.
So, David, I know you had said like teachers check these out for like 2 weeks at a time. So, are you encouraging them to, like explore, be thoughtful about what your next 2 weeks of lessons are going to be so that you're making the most of using these kits over those 2 weeks? Like if you're doing a unit on ancient Rome, it'd be easy to pull up some different, things and maybe what the ruins look more like today, because obviously you're not going to get to take a class field trip there from um, southwestern Minnesota or anything, but at least then they're going to be maximizing the devices while they have them, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So all the trainings we've done and when we've done like our tutorials for this, like Kyle has done, we always mention that you want to be thinking about like the content unit that you're going to be in when so teachers will be often thinking about the 2 weeks of time that they're going to check out the kits and then determining, they'll pair the use of or their intended use with what is coming up for their units.
I like how
Um,
you talked about the content part first, though, because that has to be the primary and the technology secondary.
yeah, yep. Yeah, so that's actually really good because so if they see they have a, ancient civilizations content coming up or unit coming up and then could explore in here and see like, what is it that I could use the VR for? Then they could do that. And we're always flexible too. Like if they're looking through and then they're like, I don't really like this. So maybe I want to just push my checkout date off. They could always do that too, where they'll contact us and then they'll say, I'd like to move my 2 week time period out a little further. So then, and we have quite a few kits and we're able to adjust on the fly for most of that. Um, so you can see, so when I did put in the Roman Colosseum, I did talk about the tracks right away. So I think what's important to point out is you have three things going on anytime you search. So you have a theme, and so then it basically drew in the history theme, knowing that that's what it's classified as. So we could click on this, and I can do that in a minute. But then you have your playlists that are created. So when you see the very first one is going to be the most relevant. So ancient Rome is that playlist. So we could take and drag that playlist in. But then you have some follow-up ones too that maybe are not Rome, but still have kind of similar threads of content where, like you've got like artifact things or arts and culture. This is not related, obviously, to atomic structure, but you can see that just beyond the initial one, there are some other things. So what's great about that is the ability to then think about what else it could be used for. So I would say it's like related material. So then if it would maybe give you an idea for future use. Um, but you could pull these in. So you could look at the themes. You could pull in individual playlists. You could pull in a variety of individual tracks and construct your playlist however you want. So if I want to pull a bunch of random tracks in, I can, and that's fine. Um, we can rearrange them if we need to, depending on how we want to structure the lesson and what we want to talk about at different times. Um, we can go and put this whole playlist in, and then what we'll see is just like the initial one we did, where it expands. So then we can look at these. So then this is our Colosseum one, right? So we can see the picture here. Then we can look at Trajan's Forum and so on. You just kind of work your way through. And then this will be a different piece of content. So one thing to point out too is you're going to have your images, you'll have AR content, you'll have VR content, uh, or like not VR content, but you'll have like the video content. So like the 360 stuff, a lot of that. So you'll have these little icons too that indicate what they are. Like this would be an AR content. Sometimes, depending on the one that you're looking at, sometimes you can manipulate them. Sometimes you're just looking at the image. You can kind of move around it a little bit, but you can see at least a variety of different things here. This is a preview of what is seen by the students when they're actually in the kit.
Right, and some of those 360 views that you showed are, like, flat on a flat computer
Yeah.
screen. They're not how the students would view it, but I think you kinda get the
Yeah.
feel for what that would look like with the headset on.
Yep. Good point. So this is going to be so you still know it's an AR content, but just know that, like you said, the student can kind of move around the object or manipulate it and see the different sides of it. So um now in the so again, if we wanted to clear this out, we could. And then what if we just wanted to look at the different themes that are available? If I click on that, I could see a bunch of different available playlists. And one thing I like about it too is you can actually see, like, if I go into, well, at first glance, you can see the track number. So with ancient Egyptian history, you can see there's 11 tracks. So whereas our Rome that we just did had 10 tracks, so we saw 10 different pieces there. Um, we could click on it, and then let's say we didn't want all the tracks. We don't want to go through all 10. And maybe we'll just go back to our Rome one so we are consistent there. Maybe I just want to show the Colosseum. So I'm just going to pull that one from the track listing. And then let's say I want to pull in this Roman gladiator sword. Okay. I could do that, and then I could limit the amount of things that we're actually going over. And then you have a little bit of free range on what you want to actually put in there.
And a great way
And
for
then,
teachers to adjust things based upon the amount of time they have to.
yeah, yep, exactly. And I know with like standards as such as this one, like if you look at a world history standard, um, the it's going to be more like ancient civilizations. So it might be more beneficial to me to include these other ancient civilizations and just take pieces and build an ancient civilizations playlist versus just focusing on Rome. So depending on the standard and the content that you're looking at, just know that you can take bits and pieces from different things to cover your entire standard. And again, you just want to look through everything and make sure that you have available to you what you want. But outside of that, I mean, there's tons of stuff on here that you can pull from. So we could pull in, the pyramids of Giza here, and then we could pull in this one is our, yeah. So we could do, something like this where we go through Rome and then we go through the pyramids here, and then you see some different bits of content. Now, when you'll notice over here, this is where all the devices show up. So this, when the students turn on their devices, what happens is these disconnected ones, these are all of our kits that we have. They'll go into the active and connected areas here. And then from there, you could actually view, if you go on class view, you can see like where the students are looking and stuff like that. And then from there, what we can do is a couple things with our playlist. We can determine whether we want the students to look on their own and go through the tracks kind of at will, progressing through them at their own pace, or if it's going to be completely led by the teacher. So down here, you have a menu of options. So one of them is, this says lessons will be explored solo. If I click on that, that's where the students get to choose what they're seeing at different times. So depending on the use, like if you're using it as kind of an enrichment activity for students that get done early or something like that, that'd be a good way to do it. You could have them explore on their own. But if you're using it for class instruction, where you want to be talking about things as you're going through, you're going to want to click on this so that its lessons will be explored together. And then whatever you go to, whatever track I go to, that's what's going to show up on the student device. So it's completely determined by me. And then I could be talking about that. And it doesn't allow them to go anywhere else, right? They're just looking at what I'm showing. Then down here, you also have, you can send the targeted devices to the waiting room if you would like to. You can also pause. Basically, what that does is it just makes it so that they're in kind of like a holding pattern so they can't really do anything. So, for example, like if you were in solo mode, you could click this and then you could send everybody to the waiting room if you want. Now, if you want to, when we were putting this all together, you could also then save the playlist. So if I save it here, I could say, ancient civilizations playlist. Oop, got kind of caught in the middle there. And I could click save playlist. Now, where this comes in really handy is because of the nature of how we do it with a checkout system. So if I'm a teacher and I use this with, say, my fall 9th grade world history class, if I save my playlist and my count has already been created by us, then when spring comes around and say I have that same different group of students, but the same content I'm teaching, I can actually check the kits out when I know I'm going to be on that unit. And then I would just be able to go to my playlist. And instead of, let me clear this. Let's say I just get the kit back. I would just go to my playlist instead of searching for everything again. And I could pull in the one that I had already built. So then that way I'm saving a ton of time. And I already know, like, for that unit, I'm going to just check the kits out and I have all my content and what I want to talk about ready to go. So it's all set. You've seen me, so that's saving it. You've seen me clear the playlist a number of times. That's pretty straightforward. You're just, whenever there's a number of tracks in here, you just hit the trash can and you can clear all the tracks that are in your playlist. So that's just more management for when you're trying to create your playlists and you want to get rid of things. You can do that. The other option here is to how you deliver the content. So the delivery portion of it is when, we actually have the students using the devices. There's two ways you can do it. You can either download them to the targeted devices. So when the devices are listed here and they're on, we can download those. And then what happens is the track listing will actually come up. I'll go to my thing here. So this is kind of what it looks like. So you see that you have on the top, there's these tracks. And so these are pre-downloaded tracks then. So this would be where one benefit to that is that if your district has like Wi-Fi drops sometimes, or you're worried about, being able to be consistently navigating through these while the students are using them, downloading them is a really great option because then you actually don't even need to be connected. You can just have them navigate through that. Now, the downside to that is if you're not, I would recommend that if you are planning on not leading them through it. If you want to lead them through it, I would say go with the send the playlist. That also is nice too for keeping the devices free of content, so we don't have to always clear them, but however anyone wants to do it, we clear them sometimes when we get them back if they're going to go out to someone else, so that when a new teacher gets them at a new district, those tracks aren't sitting on there from a previous usage. So just kind of depends, but this would be you send it to the devices, and that's more of like live over the Wi-Fi at that time. So that's kind of a distinction between the two of them. These devices all have like joysticks that they come with, because some of the content, what's cool is some of them, if we, let me see if I can pull up, like Jack and the Beanstalk is one we've done before. Yeah, it might be in our Avantis one here. But basically what these allow you to do sometimes is you're able to walk around in there. So you can use students can use the joystick So they'll wear the headset to see everything, but then they can use the joystick to walk around to different areas. So you can walk like in the house, you can walk up to the beanstalk and different things like that. So
You're not encouraging the student to actually get up and literally walk, right? You're
no,
saying you're moving your character within
yeah,
the
yes,
scene, but the joys. Okay. I
yeah.
don't wanna
We
don't
always
wanna
really
cause
stress.
any. Yeah.
Yeah, sit in a seat when you do these. You can't see, unlike Jeremy's Apple Vision Pro, where you can still see what's going on. These you will definitely walk into something or someone and have some problems. So we want to make sure we're seated. But the joysticks are great for being able to navigate around. And so another thing that I think is really important is that for those that get these kits is to really explore the different content and the types of content, because some of them are going to allow you to do different things that others will not, because you saw some are photos, some are AR models, some are scenes in which or interactive pieces where you can walk around, and then you also have like your video stuff. My personal favorites are the video ones, because a lot of times, like here you have the shark experience, and I'll just play this one for you. So and it's not going to be great because we don't have that. Okay, so and I don't know if you can hear that very well, but basically what I really like about the video ones is that there's um there's a lot of stuff going on that they're paying attention to and watching, but then there's a lot of narration too that is, you can't hear it, but it's giving information about the different parts of, right now she's talking about the liver of the shark and how it digests food and things like that. So these are some of my favorites with all the content that is in the ClassVR portal. The videos are personally what I like the best. I think they're really engaging, and I like that they have bits of information as well. And then lastly, the last thing I'll talk about here is with the different things that you can pull from. And if we go back to our ancient civilizations, we'll pull from any of these. One thing that is really worth exploring too is that they have pre-made lesson plans and worksheets that can go along with these. So one thing that I think is important to point out is that while these can be used for a lot of fun and just for, kind of like a reward type of thing, we really want to focus too on teachers using these to integrate into their content, to offer new experiences to students, make it more engaging, and then also still do some of your traditional activities, worksheets and things like that that are going to correlate to the experience that is offered through the VR headset. So just keeping that in mind as an important piece, and utilizing the resources outside of the tracks and playlists that are also available, because I think these can get overlooked, but you can use those to your advantage as an educator.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Integrate This podcast. We hope you picked up some valuable insights to help you explore your VR options and all the great things that you can do using Class VR for your students and for your own district. Be sure to check the show description for links to helpful resources. Special thanks to basically our lead presenter here today and co-host David Berner. And of course, to you, all of our viewers, for joining us on this digital exploration. I'm Jeremy Mikla. Until next time, keep integrating, innovating, and shaping the future of education. Happy teaching.
And don't forget to subscribe to our Integrate This YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and X for the latest tutorials and discussions in EdTech. Next week, we will cover our top tips for digital cleanup as we start to reach the end of the 2023-24 school year.
Also, David and I both have some amazing conferences happening this summer, one that we're each hosting. Join me as I host the Lake ECMECC conference in Princeton, Minnesota on August 6th. And David will be hosting the Southwest West Central EdTech Connect 2024, which will be in Worthington, Minnesota on August 8th. Check out the registration links in the video description and in future videos if you would like more information how to attend those conferences, or if you would be someone interested in presenting at either or both of those conferences, please reach out to us via our socials and we'd be happy to get you that information too. Technology.